Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. American dies in Negril bike crash. An American woman's Christmas visit with her Jamaican relatives was cut short when she died in a motorcycle crash in Negril on Monday night. She has been identified as 46-year-old Erica Wedderburn from Oregon, USA. According to the police, Wedderburn was heading from Negril Town Center towards the Major Hotel when she lost control of the motorcycle she was driving and crashed into a section of the hotel's wall. She received head and facial injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene of the crash. Inspector Gregory Hall, head of the Westmoreland Traffic and Town Enforcement Unit, is encouraging motorists to be extra careful during the holiday season. In this season, there is always an uptick in the number of accidents. I beseech road users to be cautious, he said. Elderly man fingers chef as alleged robber attacker. A chef has been slapped with several charges following an armed robbery on Charles Street in Kingston a week ago, in which the victim, an elderly man, was dealt several blows. Charged with robbery with aggravation, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition is 33-year-old Edward Daly, otherwise called Junior, of a Charles Street address. A release from the Constabulary Corporate Communications Unit said Tuesday that Daly was allegedly among a group of men armed with a firearm and knife who robbed the senior citizen of his cellular phone, jewelry, and money on December 13. The elderly man, who was also dealt several blows to his head and upper body, the police said had to be hospitalized. Upon being released from the hospital, the elderly man reportedly saw Daly and pointed him out to lawmen, the police said. Daly was then arrested and charged. Sagicor files US $4 million suit against Cornerstone. Sagicor Investments Jamaica Limited has filed a lawsuit against Cornerstone Financial Holding Limited and its director seeking damages in excess of US $4 million in connection with two recent rights issues. The suit, filed in the Supreme Court of Barbados on December 15, 2021, states that CFHL issued shares valued more than US $6 per share for a subscription price of less than US $0.01 per share to only those of its shareholders who had participated in a rights issue in July 2020 by its affiliated company Cornerstone United Holdings Jamaica Limited. In a news release, SIJL said it did not participate in this rights issue. The company also said it is seeking an order restraining the board of Cornerstone Financial Holding Limited for again issuing shares at the same undervalued subscription price of less than US 1% only to the band of shareholders who choose to participate in the rights issue of CUHJ in August 2021. The suit names CFHL as the first defendant and joins Paul Simpson, Arnold Aiken, Hugh Core, James Godfrey, Nigel Chensi, and Mark Meyer as the other defendants. Myers told reporters that he and his fellow directors are aware that the suit has been filed, although they have not officially received it. He said, though, that there were two rights issued and the Sagicor had been threatening for some time to file the suit. The real question is, what is it that they are up in arms about? What is it that they are conquered about? Because their representatives in the case of the first rights suit voted for it, and then subsequently with the second rights issue, under the same exact condition, they voted against it. But regardless, the majority of the shareholders voted for it, and it went through, Meyer said. Suspect identified in best man's killing. Head of the St. Catherine North Police Superintendent Howard Chambers has confirmed that a suspect has been identified as being pursued in connection with the fatal shooting of a man preparing to enter a church to perform bestman duties. The incident took place on Main Street, Wharton, St. Catherine on December 11. The deceased is 27-year-old Romario Mitchell, who is also known as Piggy, from Wakefield District near Linstead in St. Catherine. A member of the bereaved family said Mitchell was working in St. James but had left there to carry out bestman duties at his childhood friend's wedding. The friend went on to get married moments after the stabbing outside King's Chapel Apostolic Church. According to sources, Mitchell arrived at the church but left to do a transaction across the road. One of the places he visited is a supermarket where he purchased something to drink. When he exited the supermarket and was heading back into the churchyard, a man allegedly attacked him from behind and stabbed him. Alleged eyewitnesses said there was no dispute on the spot where the attack happened. However, Superintendent Chambers said it appears that the late Mitchell and the suspect had an argument elsewhere in Yorkton moments before the attack. From what we gather, it is out of an argument by the suspect and the deceased at the gas station or at the supermarket, and the suspect would have, after that, got a knife and run down the deceased and stabbed him. So, everything happened within the same space, Superintendent Chambers noted. Harsher punishments coming for correctional officers who smuggle contraband.
How many correctional officers have penalized for bringing in contraband into the system?
So what I would encourage you to do is to look at the civil service rules that govern how we can put discipline into the management of the correctional facilities. The way that the correctional services is structured is not like the police or like jail. It's not the same. You cannot manage the correctional services the way you manage the police and the jail. The law isn't structured like that. That is one of the things that we're going to have to deal with, the full repeal and replacement of that. So the civil service rules apply to an agency that really is a uniform group and should be governed accordingly, which has made it particularly difficult for ministers, commissioners to bring about the discipline and the management in the spaces. There have been some charges, I don't have the exact number, I know of 2 in recent times, of persons who were charged bringing in contraband, right? I'm sure there'll be more now that the law has teeth. The issue hasn't been that we haven't been able to find the items. The issue previously was that when you found the items, the consequences really just didn't match the issue. So now that we've changed and put in place consequences that we believe match the severity of the issue, we think you're going to start to see stemming of that space. Because there really wasn't any concern or fear from either inmates or those who would facilitate such actions before. I mean, over the last 12 months, rolling 12-month average, you found about 2,000 items of contraband, mostly phones, in the space. So it's not that we can't find them. I think now that we have the appropriate consequences, you're going to see a change.
Mr. Samuda, that's not the issue, because I think the issue is how they're coming in.
No, so you have a number of issues, right? The first issue, which is the one we've just solved, is the legislation. Somebody being fined $1,000, $5,000 really wasn't enough of a deterrent to make anybody stop it. The issue around the entry protocols, you've got significantly more items being, attempts being made to bring stuff in. So the issue is we won't be really finding the items. The issue is that now you have a consequence that matches a crime. My experience with correctional officers is that majority of them are good, hard-working, patriotic Jamaicans, right? You do have a few bad apples, as you have in every organization. I think the bad apples have given the correctional services a bad name. Now that we have the law, we'll be investing in the technology and the infrastructure that we need to change the entranceways to our space. We'll be putting in significantly greater monitoring, as well as cell phone blockers where we need to have those, which isn't necessarily suitable in all locations.
Is it a case, we've been hearing this stuff about cell phone blockers. Is this the thing where this is effective? Because it doesn't seem to be.
No, well, they're not in use. So there was talk of needing them, right? But they're not in use currently. So there couldn't be a metric to determine effectiveness yet or not. They've been used in the past and it caused issues in the communities around them because the technology wasn't yet refined. Significant improvements in technology have come about since.
So based on your knowledge, there's no issue really inflow of contraband?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we now have that's not what I'm saying either.
Okay.
There is an issue with contraband, which is why we spent the time to put in place legislation to deal with it. Legislation was not fit for purpose before, it's now fit for purpose. It's likely to be gazetted later this week. We wouldn't be able to operationalize it yet until we get back the final gazette from printing office, which I expect to be sometime this week. And then you hand over the law to the correctional services and the police to implement, right? Where they need technology, where they recommend infrastructural changes, we'll allocate the resources necessary. You have a situation where you have a 9% crime decrease and a 10% increase in murder. And that's not an easy topic to discuss, right? Because every single statistic that you quote in there is a victim of crime. It's a Jamaican who was lost the life of a family that is suffering, and we take that very, very seriously. Let's be clear, the threat that Jamaicans face from crime is always evolving, and that's not unique to us. The recent increases are commensurate with increases both in Central America and in North America. The US last year had a 30% increase in murders, highest in any other, the highest increase they've ever had. And many of the gangs that we're operating here operate in a transnational basis. Now, that's not to make excuses, but that is to give context for the issues that you face. Though we've made significant investments over the last 4 years, we have had some setbacks. There can be no debate that it wasn't helpful losing the use of the states of emergency with the vote that came from the opposition in this space. The facts remain that there are 7 police divisions that have accounted for the increase in murders. Of the 7 police divisions, 5 had been recommended by the security chiefs for the use of a state of emergency, which gave us particular powers with the army and particular powers to use under that legislation. That was taken away and that didn't help. Now, there are many other things that the government is doing that we believe will bring about or will stem the tide in short order. Things like the Corrections Act will help. It's not about contraband for the sake of contraband and just a thought. The facts remain that many of our murders emanate from the prisons, and if you cut off the communication, we believe that that will have a particular impact in communities. But there are many other things to come, right? The Firearms Act is critical. Issues of bail have to be confronted by the society. And we have to resolve this issue of how we use the army.
What is your vision in terms of use for the army?
Well, it's not about my vision, right? The Constitution does allow for declarations of states of emergency when there is a threat that threatens the lives of Jamaicans and the stability of the nation. And no one can deny that national security, or rather that the security situation has presented a threat to our citizens for as long as I've been alive, as long as you've been alive. We don't know what it is as persons, as Jamaicans under 40, to know what it is today to live in a safe, secure country. We've had a murder rate for all of my life that is far too high. There's literally never been so we can quote 1400, we can quote 2005 with 1600, we can pick numbers and years to look at, right? But certainly in all of my adult life, the numbers have never been low enough. There's never been a year to celebrate, quite frankly, right? And the facts remain. You have gangs that operate in a paramilitary way in 7 of your 19 police divisions that require the use of army to bring about peace to the communities in the space. The legislative space, the legislation that we have that allows the JDF to function in a particular way is the declaration of a state of emergency. This nonsense that you can use the JDF the same way with other pieces of legislation is just simply not true, right? It's not true. And it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this point, but there are several other priority pieces of legislation that will come in the first quarter and into the first half of next year to improve the legislative framework. We'll continue to invest at unprecedented rates in the strength of our police. We will continue to modernize our overall architecture. You'd have noticed also on Friday that we passed the MOCA regulations. So MOCA is now, we've built the institution, which is the Jamaican FBI of sorts. There are many other things to be done, right? Some you can discuss on a fly, some.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.